Hi, my name is Nicole Cooley, and this is my dispositions video. So what dispositions do I think I possess that'll make me a successful teacher? I think I really try and treat everyone pretty fairly. I do take into account individual needs, which is, I think, another great disposition to have. But I really do try and make sure that everybody is accountable, on the same playing field, on the same level. Um, I also think that I have a real sense of culture. My undergraduate degree is in anthropology, so I have exposure to different cultures, learning and how to deal with them, how they might learn. Recognizing that this student from another country or another area in our own country might have a harder time adjusting to the way we do things. At a given school or in a given time of year simply because it's different. It's not of their culture, especially English as a second language is a total like loop to jump through for some students. I mean, English is a very difficult language, and just reminding them, encouraging them, and remembering myself that it's not what they're used to. They're still learning. Then, what dispositions do I need to work on before I enter the classroom in my first year? I think I really need to work on encouraging more active inquiry. Like, I always support my students as a substitute teacher. I always support their curiosity, but I often don't support active inquiry. I don't think, because I think of active as when they want to know, they go and they find out. You know. So for example, if we're talking about George Washington on President's Day and someone asks me a question I don't know the answer to, because it happens, I don't generally say, why don't you go look that up right now? I generally say, why don't you look that up later? Because right now we're doing something. Whereas I feel like maybe an active inquiry would be, hey, while we finish reading this, why don't you find out that piece of information? So I think I just need to maybe be more open to diverting from my plan, or the plans I'm given, to allow students that little extra active inquiry in their learning environment. Because if they want to learn it, why shouldn't I allow them to learn it, as long as it's at least somewhat relevant to what we're talking about? If it's totally off the wall, not relevant at all, I generally say that's something you should look up on your free time, whether it's indoor recess or at our school we do a quiet time. If it's that's on quiet time, that's up to you, but we need to focus on our work right now. Um, How do the dispositions demonstrate my ability to understand other cultures, genders, and learning differences to build stronger relationships with students and families? Um, I think these dispositions talk a lot about maintaining fairness, equality, the needs of the community. So, knowing the culture of your community around you, if you live in a very Hispanic, Asian, whatever, knowing that culture, that background, will really help in educating the students. Again, also understanding how a male student might learn differently than a female student, or in today's age, as they get older, they're coming into these different gendered ideas. Just understanding a little bit about that will help you better support them, um, not only intellectually, because obviously if they need that support intellectually, but they need emotional support as well. And that's another disposition that's mentioned in the survey. I feel like if they're not emotionally supported, there's no way that a gendered person or like someone of another gender can be really strong in that. How do potential bias affect teaching? I think if you're biased towards someone in a negative or a positive way, you're going to treat them differently. For example, I am a Caucasian female. Perhaps I might favor Caucasian females, or the opposite. I might overcompensate for maybe an African American female or African American male. I may try and be a little more friendly, and which that's not really necessary, but it's my bias. I feel like I feel like I'm not aware of this myself. I feel like you might not be aware of your own biases. Maybe I might feel like that I need to um, be extra nice and extra peppy with them because of our racial or our gender difference. How do you anticipate using feedback from your animal performance evaluations, observations, and data on student performance to adjust my dispositions and teaching practices to benefit learning? I feel like getting that data can be really eye-opening. Okay, this is what I'm doing right. Let's keep doing this. Let's add more of it. Ooh, maybe this is not what I'm doing so well. Let's reassess it. Maybe try something new, tweak it here, maybe try it again. Maybe it's the first time they were exposed to this disposition, like, or this piece. But just keeping yourself aware, reflecting back on what you've done to become that better professional, I think is really important. So that's